All right, Shalom. I'm going to start off by giving all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. I want to start out the book of Isaiah, chapter 19, verse 15. No, let's start at verse 14. It says, Yahweh hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. And this is what you're seeing put on display right now. As we are in the daughter of Babylon, America, Babylon the Great, which is spiritually called Sodom in Egypt, we are seeing this perverse spirit. And we are seeing this, this folly displayed. Not only folly, let's include rebellion. Let's include opposition to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Let's include confusion, iniquity upon iniquity. All these things we are seeing, heightened. Okay? All these things we are seeing at an alarming rate. But the Lord said this would be. Okay? The Lord said this would be. So we are now witnessing, as men of the Lord, dealing with the same things or witnessing the same things that our forefather Noah have seen and what Lot have seen. And, many other men of the Lord, the prophets. All right? But it goes into more of a detail and somewhat of a detail with Noah and our forefather Lot, have seen. Okay, that's why it says Lot was vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. And you can just imagine what Noah was dealing with the people back then. Because the Lord called them the world, he flooded the world of the ungodly. And we're seeing a lot of ungodly deeds. We're seeing ungodly behavior being put on display. All right? We are seeing these things put on display, and it is like never before. And even when you look back, right, let's just say 5 years ago, let's use that as an example. 5 years ago, we haven't seen this type of mindset or behavior 5 years ago. It was bad, but it wasn't like this. And it's like each and every year, these people, it's like a race to who could be worse. All right? As this folly is being put on display. But let's get furthermore into the scriptures. It says, verse 15, neither shall there be any work for Egypt. And this is really the point that I wanted to touch on this and make this lesson. It says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. All right? So that's the point where we're getting at. There should be, neither should there be any work for Egypt. And what we are witnessing in the decline of America, Babylon the Great, that work is ceasing. All right, and we're going to get there in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12. And I got a few articles that I want to pull up as well. But as we are in this economic downturn, we are witnessing the work of Egypt failing. All right, and with the work of Egypt failing, what's going to be behind this? Okay, crime, violence. Right? So let's jump straight into it with these few articles that I want to touch on. And matter of fact, let's start with this, okay? Let's start with this. Check this out. This is on Newsbreak. Oh boy. It says cops will not respond to theft, burglary, other emergencies in major U.S. city. And this is going to be a trend. Okay, this is not only going to take place here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but this is going to take place in other cities as well. And I believe there's another major city that had an announcement last month or a month or two ago where this was mentioned. How they said their city will not respond to certain calls. But let's get into this article. It says, in response to the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police's seriously understaffed force, the department recently announced that police officers will no longer respond to certain calls labeled in progress emergencies, such as harassment, theft, and burglary alarms. According to 11 investigates, Pittsburgh Rural Police Chief Larry Scirotto is hoping to reduce the department's call value from roughly 200,000 calls each year to approximately 50,000 calls. As a result, calls for the issues such as theft, burglary, and harassment will be reported through a telephone recording unit or through online reporting. You see? So what they're saying is you're not going to be able to talk to an actual live person. And you know how when we call to pay our bills and there's like a recording on the line, or we're dealing with like a automated machine. I think that's what that's called, right? That's who they want you to talk to when you in a state of emergency. How that gonna work, right? You're talking about taking 150,000 less calls, right? And they're not gonna respond to theft. So you mean you're in a situation where you're getting hijacked, or not hijacked, your car stolen, okay? Your house broken into, your business broken into, and they're not going to respond, right? They're not going to respond. They're just going to let it take place and then investigate after. How does that sound, right? But even more, how does that sound to a criminal? Well, a criminal is going to think in their mind, what? They can have their way. So there's going to be even more crime behind us in cities. In the cities that's following behind us, you are going to see the increase of crime. But see, we already know what's going on with all this. It's just the order out of chaos setup. You know? And crime is what? Crime is on the rise. Okay? Crime is on the rise. And it was even before these borders have been open. But now that these borders are open, things are just going to get a lot worse. Okay? Things are about to get a lot worse. So go ahead. You Jakes want to keep rebelling against Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You want to keep setting his counsel or not, like we just anybody. Like we don't know what we talking about. Okay. We're going to see. How about that? We're going to see. It says the outlet also reported that the city's 6 police stations will now conduct operations without desk officers from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. Instead of having desk officers, the city will have call boxes linked to 911 or 911 emergency situations. Additionally, as few as 22 officers may be available to cover overnight shifts in Pittsburgh. So basically, hey, like the Elder Hawaii said, you're letting criminals know that around these times you're understaffed. So what does that mean to the average criminal? That means they can have their way of committing crime. And if you're not gonna, if you're not gonna show up, well, why not, commit my crime, right? In silence, or commit my crime in peace, without the chance of being, detained or arrested. Shit, well, they gonna go ahead and try that. It only makes sense, okay, to the average criminal. It only makes sense. Okay, you have more chances of getting away. So why won't you commit these different crimes? And that's why you're going to see these different things increase. Let's see. So it says, despite pushback regarding the city's major policing changes, Scarratta has maintained that the changes will still provide sufficient security for the community. The police chief has claimed that new staffing plan is intended to maximize the city's limited resources. So, I mean, they're saying that, but they're not going to be able to cover. It's too much area to cover. With 22, you're telling me 22 officers in a city full of, you know, a couple 100,000 plus people, 22 officers to cover this widespread area in 4 hours? Yeah, right. You're not going to be able to cover that. So you can expect more crime here, and you can expect more crime in other cities. Just watch. We're about to watch things get worse by the day, or let's say it like this, by the second, by the minute, by the hour, by the day, by the week, by the month, by the year, depending on how long we're here. Right? Things are about to get a lot worse, so be circumspect. Let's continue. Let's get back on more track of, the no work for Egypt. Okay? So it says 7 Pennsylvania towns, people are fleeing as soon as possible. Since Pennsylvania is a state abundant in history and natural beauty, it's currently experiencing a depopulation trend in several of its towns. This article explores the reasons behind the exodus from these areas. Chester, the decline of industry. Once a bustling industrial town, Chester has witnessed a significant decline in its economic fortunes. The loss of manufacturing jobs has resulted in increased crime rates and deteriorating urban landscape, prompting residents to seek better opportunities elsewhere. Johnstown, the fall of the flood city. Known for its catastrophic floods, Johnstown is currently facing a modern-day exodus due to economic stagnation. The city's inability to recover from the collapse of the steel industry has led to a shrinking population. Duquesne, losing its spark. Located along the Monongahela River, Duquesne is struggling with the loss of its steel identity. The city's population has steadily declined as residents moved away in search of jobs and move vibrant community life. McKeesport, from boom to gloom. McKeesport is another town feeling the impact of the steel industry's decline. The once thriving city is now grappling with high unemployment rates, leading to an outflow of its citizenry. Reading, a tale of two cities. Reading presents the dichotomy of rich cultural heritage and poor economic conditions. Despite being a historical landmark, the lack of job prospects is driving its residents to seek better quality of life elsewhere. Newcastle, the forgotten fortress. Once a fortress of industry, Newcastle is now battling population loss. The town's former glory has faded, leaving behind empty streets and a longing for revitalization. Shamokin, the Deming coal city. Shamokin's coal power plant is no longer enough to sustain its future. As the coal industry dwindles, so does the population, with many leaving in pursuit of greener pastures. So what is the conclusion of all this? Mentioning these 7 cities and other places around the world that's dealing with the same economic impact. These 7 towns serve as a microcosm of the broader challenges facing parts of Pennsylvania and around the world. And around, the Babylon the Great, I should say. Economic shifts, industrial decline, and a lack of opportunities are common threads weaving through the narrative of these communities. Revitalization efforts are necessary to stem the tide of the exodus and restore the vibrancy of these towns. And then it's over with. Ain't no healing, ain't no balm for Babylon the Great. And that's why I label this, there shall be no more work for Egypt, because we are now witnessing the decline of America, Babylon the Great, right? And these are just articles that you're seeing that I'm sending to the chat, right? And I'll just read these I'll just highlight these. As it says, Highmark terminates 100 plus Pennsylvania employees. Dollar Tree Family Dollar to close 1,000 locations, right? And another brother sent that in the chat as well. But see, this is what you're seeing. You know, you got Walmart, Target, Best Buy, different food chains, businesses that have been running strong for 100+ years. You know, going bankrupt. You know, banks failing. You have all this taking place. And this is something that we have never, you know, these different places, you know, we come across articles and we see things like this. But I personally have never seen, you know, things take place as fast and as much as it's taking place now. You know, these different industries, or not industries, but these different corporate or big businesses failing the way they're failing right now. You know, but see, this is just showing you that this place is finished. That Babylon the Great is on a decline, even with this taking place, right? Housing Authority overwhelmed by applications for subsidized housing vouchers. But why? Why are they, you know, why are they overwhelmed? Because they didn't expect as many people to sign up as the way they did. Let's just read a little bit of this. It says the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh has been overwhelmed with applications for subsidized housing vouchers since it began accepting on Monday. What is subsidized housing? That's like Section 8. That's like when the government basically, you know, pays your rent and your utilities. Okay, that's why when you have people paying, you know, the least, it's like their rent might be $100 to $600. You know, it's not like that. The average of $800 to $1,400 a month. You know, their light bill will be like, let's say $50-$60. You know, gas, etc. You know, so that's what subsidized housing goes into, like the welfare type of ordeal. And eventually, we're gonna see that be used against people. You know, to be in league or cooperate with the system that they're about to have in place. But let's continue. It says, as KDKA TV Money editor John Delano explains, housing officials say it demonstrates how critical the shortage of affordable housing really is. Right, shit is out the roof right now. On Monday morning, for the first time since 2018, Pittsburgh's Housing Authority offered a short window for people to apply for Section 8 housing choice voucher that can be used for subsidized housing, and the number of applications hit 7,000 in the first 36 hours. He said there has been a lot of displacement since COVID. Folks are not working. But here we go. There should be no more work for Egypt. Right? The grinding is ceasing. The rents have been raised very high with a lot of these private owners, and folks want to get on this subsidized housing because it is adjusted to your gross income, right? So since inflation, you know, as we see things taking place, you know, people can't keep up with the average cost of, we're not getting paid for the cost of living that's happening right now due to inflation. Slovakia. Yeah, so due to inflation, okay, you know, our wages are not matching the cost of living. Okay, so it's really hard on everybody at the moment. It says, and folks want to get on subsidized housing because it is adjusted to your gross income, says Jayla Rucker, a commissioner on the board of the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh. Rucker says while having a voucher does not guarantee affordable housing, with that voucher, the tenant pays no more than 1/3 of their gross income for rent, and Housing Authority pays the rest of their rent with federal funds. Yeah, so, you know, I be kind of, you know, looking up a lot of financial news or economic news, and it stated that pretty much, you know, over 60% of the U.S., we're spending over 50% of our general income, you know, on housing, right? It says, but currently there is no requirement that landlords accept tenants with vouchers. Yeah, so it said you can have all these vouchers, but the landlord doesn't have to accept you. All right? Yeah, basically, landlords are not obligated to accept their voucher, and they can even post in their ad that their property is not Section 8 eligible or that they don't take vouchers. So not all the landlords work with the voucher program, says Devon Gizet. I didn't even want to try that. With Aubrey, a nonprofit human service organization that helps tenants find housing. So pretty much you just see the people are through, and the people need government's assistance, with the help of everything as this place is on a decline, right? Even people that's working through, so pretty much, let's get the scripture. Pretty much what we are witnessing is the decline and the destruction of Babylon the Great from the inside out. Let's get this, the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 3. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So we are witnessing the grinding ceasing. All right, there shall be no more work for Egypt, and this is where we at. Okay, this is where we at, and it's only mid-March, roughly, and things are about to get a lot worse. So guess what? I'll leave off with this. Brace for impact. The daughter of Babylon, brace for impact. You so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans better repent. Better leave off from that proud, mindset. The scriptures say, why is earth and ashes proud? So with that, Lord, will I hope is edifying. So next time I want to say